This is the Bishop Cross Border Investment Services podcast. I'm Lee Scully. I'm an associate investment advisor. This is Stephen Bishop. He's our lead advisor, founding member. Today we're going to talk about a topic that comes out a lot with people moving to Canada, people that have houses and real estate in the United States where they've lived for a while, and they often wonder when to change their address. We've had various questions about that, and I know it's a common topic because people often are dealing with the administrative parts of their move here and their former institution changing institutions to a Canadian investment manager, and when do you change the address? Should you? Do you have to? I get those questions a lot. Right off the bat, the clear answer is yes, you have to. You have to change your address as soon as you move and declare your Canadian residency. You cannot continue to keep a U.S. address, whether it's a brother's address or a sister or a mother. It's non-compliant. It causes problems. Stephen, what do you think about that question that we get from people?
Yeah, it's pretty common actually, because the decisions people make to move are personal, and so they then as they investigate all the other things that go along with that, then they find out the more administrative things they have to, like tax. They have to get tax advice, and then when it comes to the brokerage accounts, a lot of people don't even know that's what happens. But yeah, it's pretty common, and yeah, they have to. Mm-hmm. They have to advise their U.S. brokerage firm that they are changing the residency, and then they have to find somebody to take it over, mm-hmm. which would be a cross-border licensed advisory service. So, and most people do when they find that out. You know, there's a few here and there that we come across that will say, well, you know, why do I have to do that? And mm-hmm. and I don't want to do that. I like who I'm dealing with there, and so on. Well, that's up to them. But if they're aware that they have to do it, and then they don't do it, it's called willful misrepresentation, mm-hmm. or it can also be called willful blindness, or
willful ignorance, willful blindness.
Yeah. And which basically means you know you're supposed to do something legally or compliance-wise, and you willfully decide not to. So then that puts you exposed.
And it is different if you don't know any better, but at the same time, you're exposed to the same problem. So
yeah.
What happens in a lot of cases, right, is someone is talking to their investment advisor and they mention, we're going to move to Canada. And then the advisor says, once you move to Canada, it's hard for me to help you. And then they don't know any better, so they say, oh, what if I just use my brother's address in the States?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Without knowing that causes problems.
It's the same thing. I mean, you know, it's wrong. And that decision not only puts themselves at risk, it also puts the brokerage firm that they're dealing with at risk, mm-hmm. because the brokerages have a responsibility to report residency, to comply with the securities treaties between the two countries, Canada, the U.S. in this case. But then they also have the responsibility to report to the IRS in the States, in Canada, the CRA. And so it might seem initially to someone, oh, well, this just isn't a big deal. Well, it can be a big deal for the firms, mm-hmm. because the firms can be charged and fined for holding these accounts for a non-residence. And so that's why when the firms are made aware of it, either directly by the client or it's discovered which happens a lot.
Just through conversation, we'll discover it.
Well, not just us. I mean, you've got mail issues. You've got phone number changes. You've got there's even IP addresses for computers, and the brokerages can pick up on where that person's IP address is that it's no longer in the United States. There's a lot of ways that it can be discovered, and as soon as it's discovered, the brokerage firm has a fiduciary obligation and a requirement to they freeze the accounts, they suspend any further activity, they contact the client, tell them they can no longer hold the accounts, and they have to find somebody who's licensed to work in both countries, a cross-border advisory service, for instance. And if they don't get any action on it, they can even liquidate the accounts and send the money. And if it's an IRA, you don't want that. That creates a huge tax a tax issue for the client. So it's one of those things that people can decide to do what they want because it's their decision. But there's requirements of all the brokerage firms in the United States and in Canada to have proper disclosure from clients on residency. And which falls into taxation, and there's a multitude of things that can happen where this, they might get away with it for a year, they might get away with it for 2 years. It eventually it will come into play, the best solution is to just if you have the services available in Canada to have a cross-border advisory service like what we do, then why put yourself in a position like that where you're willfully misrepresenting yourself with that firm that you've had this great relationship with for years, and putting them in a compromising position where they can be fined for carrying that account. Aside from all the other things that go along with it, I mean, if you have the option, just do what's right and move on. And you've already made the decision to move. Well, that's something that just goes along with that decision. But the solutions are there, so just take advantage of them.
That's right. And it's not complicated. Like for us, it's just to change the address and everything's business as usual, right? So
yeah, change the address, change the residency code,
code.
The geographical code for your residency. It has nothing to do with citizenship.
Right.
Some people think it has to do with their citizenship. It has nothing to do with citizenship. It has to do with residency.
Canada taxes its residents.
Residency.
Right. Whereas the U.S. is different. That's a citizen-based tax system.
Where you live determines how it works. And if you've moved to, let's say, Nova Scotia, and you have a Nova Scotia address, and now that your residency's changed, now you have a Nova Scotia driver's license, and so on. Well, there's something wrong if you still want to mislead the firms you're dealing with and claim that you still live in the United States. Like you're just walking down the wrong road.
That's another can of worms we just opened too, is the tax reporting side of things. So if you're physically a resident of Canada, but the geocodes and the address on your account doesn't reflect that, it's going to have implications for what foreign tax credits you apply for and how the tax is done, which if it's done non-compliantly and incorrectly, let's say 2 years later you find out and it has to be rectified, that's a mess. Could be expensive, could be a legal issue. It's a can of worms.
There's no reason that I can see why a responsible person can't get the proper advice, tax advice as well. You know, we have people we work with, independent, you know, good cross-border tax firms that you know, which we recommend people get their tax advice, and then we get them their brokerage account advice. There's no reason people can't do this, and to ignore it or to just say, oh, I'll just, you know, use my brother's address or my daughter's address or whatever because I don't want to deal with that. Well, that might work temporarily, but there's a really good chance it's going to come back and catch up, and the magnitude of that could be quite serious depending on the individual and how complicated their structures are.
That's right.
So just get the information and find out what you need to know and ask the questions and do it properly and move on.
Yep, that's right. It's a question we get a lot, and even if we don't get the question, we want to create awareness right off the bat that that's something to address. And yeah, so conclusive summary here would be, don't keep your old U.S. address, change it when you get here. We do everything else after that, but that's a really important first step. Yes,
absolutely. It's absolutely, and if you're watching this, you know, if you're not a client and you're watching this to gather information, it's the best advice we can give that a person addresses this and deals with it properly, and prevents any future issues. I don't want to say liability, but it can create a lot of issues for
That's right.
for them and for the firm they're dealing with currently. So
yeah,
it's just part of the whole process of changing residency.
So Stephen, I think this is a good introduction to the topic. We'll continue to discuss it. We'll post more educational content about it. If you want to learn more, we have blogs on our website, all kinds of information there.
Or contact us.
Reach out, give us a call, send us an email.
Click on the Contact Us tab and send an inquiry and ask to discuss the topic. And